I ignored the $9 corporate credit card alert. It seemed trivial. 2 hours later, my portfolio dashboard flashed red. Every investment. Every account. Sudden exposure everywhere. I told myself it was nothing. But my chest tightened as I realized the numbers weren't just off, they were disappearing. 3 days later, the regulators were at our door. And I still had no idea which decision had triggered the cascade. I refreshed the dashboard again. Nothing changed. Every number still red. Positions liquidated automatically. And my $42,000 cushion had evaporated. Investors were calling. Emails flooded my inbox. Margins were tightening across the board. Insurance coverage? Not enough. And the clock was ticking. I couldn't just sit there. My team was waiting for direction. Every call I made felt like I was walking on a tightrope. One wrong move and payroll could fail. It wasn't just the credit card. It wasn't just the portfolio. There was a flaw buried inside the system. Something I had approved months ago. And until I found it, the losses wouldn't stop. The office lights of Canary Wharf reflected off the glass walls, a pale city glow that barely illuminated my trading dashboard. The numbers were moving faster than my eyes could track, portfolio positions bleeding red, leverage ratios exceeding warning thresholds, and the corporate credit card system pinging alerts like tiny alarms in my brain. I'm Ethan Cole, CEO and portfolio strategist at a mid-sized fintech investment firm in London. Competent, educated, and aggressive, but tonight, all that felt irrelevant. I knew every algorithm in our risk management system. I had vetted every insurance clause and hedged nearly every position. And yet, the $9 alert was out of my control, and suddenly, everything was. I sipped my third black coffee. Shallow breaths. Fingers hovering over the keyboard, deciding whether to override or let the system run its course. I shouldn't panic. I know these systems. I designed them. But the dashboard didn't care. Red numbers blinked. Margin calls queued. Positions auto-liquidating. And somewhere in the background, the faint vibration of my phone kept reminding me that investors, partners, and regulators were awake and waiting. Claire Montgomery, my COO, leaned over my shoulder. Ethan, the secondary accounts show unusual activity. Small transactions, multiple currencies, suspicious. I scrolled through line items. Just £7 here. $12 there. Insignificant by normal standards. But I felt a tightness in my chest, that subtle dread when a minor alert hides something catastrophic. I know this feeling. I've felt it before. And I've ignored it before. Emails arrived in clusters, immediate margin review required. Regulatory disclosure needed. Client funds at risk. I thought, it's manageable. It has to be manageable. The $9 corporate credit card transaction was the first domino. Small, almost laughable. But my gut told me otherwise. My thumb hovered over the ignore button. Why? Because this is finance. Because a trivial alert in isolation often masks a systemic risk. Because I had a multi-million-dollar acquisition closing tomorrow, and I couldn't let a £9 anomaly derail negotiations. 2 hours later, the dashboard was red. Across 3 asset classes. Multiple accounts. Margin calls already processing. The phone buzzed again, this time an SMS alert, high-risk internal transfer detected. Immediate review recommended. I opened the email from our risk system, unusual leverage exposure. Positions approaching auto-liquidation thresholds. I tapped my pen against my desk. Silence in the office amplified the tension. Claire looked at me expectantly. "Ethan, it's spreading." I said, "We'll contain it. Just a temporary dip." Inside, I was panicking. My chest constricted. Heart racing. Every instinct screamed, "Stop. Review. Pause." Yet my mind rationalized, "It's only $9. The system is robust. I can handle this." But the system didn't care about rationalization. Numbers kept dropping. Positions liquidated automatically. Every fractional move creating a cascade I could feel in real time. Internal thought, 3 days from now, the regulators will be at our door. But right now, I still have to pretend control. I refreshed the dashboard for what felt like the 100th time. Still red. Still bleeding. Positions auto-liquidating. Margin calls stacking. Emails and calls poured in. Investors questioning, regulators probing. I could have stopped this. I told myself. I just need a few hours to manually intervene. The CFO, Edward Blake, called. Calm, precise. "Ethan, if we don't act now, exposure could reach 150%. Payroll might fail." I swallowed. "I've survived worse. I can stabilize this." Claire added, "There's leverage across secondary accounts. Some flagged as high-risk internal transfers." Internal thought, the $9 alert, months ago. I dismissed it then. And now it's snowballing. But admitting it. That's admitting my own oversight. Minutes stretched. Dashboard red numbers multiplied. Notifications pinged. Automatic sell-offs across asset classes. $15,000 more gone. Internal thought, I thought I was competent. I thought my systems were airtight. I ignored a small alert, and now the cascade is unstoppable. A new alert appeared. Unusual internal transaction detected. Manual review recommended. The office felt suffocating. The London skyline blurred behind rain-streaked glass. Each alert felt like a hammer on my chest. Edward said, margin ratios exceeding safe limits. Investors demanding explanations. Insurance won't cover exposure. I paced, staring at multiple monitors. I've never felt control slip like this. Notifications continued. Corporate credit card fraud alerts, suspicious transactions, auto-liquidating investments. Internal thought, this is bigger than the $9 alert. It's the flaw I approved months ago. Claire whispered, patterns suggest internal exploitation. Someone may be using the system loophole. Now it wasn't just market risk. Internal risk. Manipulation. Betrayal. Or coincidence. Internal thought, we need to trace the source, or risk compounding losses further. Boardroom silence. Investors and partners staring. Edward spoke, system flaw. It's not one alert. It's structural. Automated leverage processing compounded your approvals. Emails, denied insurance claims. Audit trail anomalies. Margin calls mounting. Internal thought, every alert I ignored, each approval, feeding this cascade. Claire said, notify regulators immediately. I said, contain first, disclose later. Edward replied, containment won't stop auto liquidation. The transaction is traced to a partner-controlled account, Edward added. I realized control was a lie. My silent decisions created this chaos. Early morning. Small stabilization. Losses down from 25% to 12%. For 30 minutes, hope. Temporary. Claire warned, underlying exposure still exists. If triggered again, losses will double overnight. Dashboard numbers paused blinking. Internal alerts silent. Internal thought, false calm. But for a brief moment, I let myself breathe. Notifications pinged like gunshots. Margin calls auto-liquidated positions. $42,000 cushion gone. $120,000 more exposure. Investors calling. Regulators en route. Insurance confirmed insufficient coverage. Boardroom silent. Everyone staring. Internal thought, I can't stop this. Not until the root flaw is fixed. 5 previous anomalies approved months ago are now compounding, Edward said. 2 options, confess or conceal. Claire said, patch system now. Discrepancies remain. Edward warned. Hide it and risk discovery, worse consequences. I chose accountability. Drafted emails, called board, briefed regulators. Internal thought, competence means owning mistakes. Even when painful. Aftermath brutal, $200,000 plus lost. Board trust fractured. Regulatory scrutiny extended. Insurance denied. Yet clarity emerged, never ignore minor alerts. Automated systems amplify silent decisions. Internal oversight must match portfolio scale. Reputation and control cost more than money. I refreshed dashboard. Red numbers remained but future losses contained. Internal thought, I ignored the $9 corporate credit card alert. Never again. Claire said, we survived, barely. I whispered, no more silent decisions. No ignored alerts. Control is earned, not assumed. Fade out. Dashboard still glowing red. Silence. Lessons learned.